the quote, like, it doesn't matter if you get knocked down, it's how many times you can get back up after you get knocked down. And it's true. You fail 100 times until you hit it, and then you hit it one time and there's your light. That's what you need. I mean, the two biggest things that I almost pride myself on it is that I'm not afraid to put myself out there.
I can remember you and Nick and James and Boosh sending me videos when you guys were in the gym at like 1 a.m. still stunting. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are sitting down with someone who I've talked about a number of times on the podcast, and I've never had on the podcast before, but the one and only Jalani Keogh. And Jalani is going to be chatting with us about all things cheer. We're here in North Dakota. We've been working a camp, and we wanted to take this opportunity to sit down and just chat about cheerleading, talk about some of Jalani's background and some of the things that he's been up to in cheer, and just share all of that with you. So without any further ado, I will let Jalani introduce himself. He normally is very humble and does not talk super well about himself. But Jalani, why don't you tell everyone who you are and kind of what your journey has been like in the cheer industry?
Hello, everybody. I'm Jalani. I cheered ODT when I was a kid. I started about 16, 17 years old. I spent a couple years there, and then I went off to Trinity Valley for a few years. I was there for 3 years, and then after the Valley, I went to Weber State, where I cheered there for about 5 years. Yes, it was a long time, but I did enjoy it. It was actually one of the coolest experiences I've ever gotten to be a part of, honestly. Just getting to honestly travel the country and do something that I love and get better and meet like some of the best athletes that I've ever come across, like work ethic wise, skill wise, and even just like teammates and things like that. It was a super, super cool opportunity. Yeah, that's me. That's my cheer background. So,
and now I'll add on. So Jelani's an NCAA national champion and grand national champion. He's competed at UCA Partnerstein. He's competed at NCAA Partnerstein. And what are you up to now? So after 8 years in college and college cheer, you've now left. And what have you been up to the last couple of years with cheerleading? And I think it's also good to say what you were doing in cheer in regard to coaching while you were in college.
So over the last few years, I mean, I've done a lot of private lessons. I do a lot of clinics and things like that. And then when I was done, I was honestly ready to be out of all of it. And I was like, I think it's just time for me to, take a step back. And, we talked about it a little bit last year when the summer was coming to an end. And Dan presented me with an opportunity to get to come back and coach the team that I actually started cheering on. And so I've been coaching them for the last year. And honestly, like, it's just been a completely different world from being an athlete to being a coach. And it's really cool because, I mean, I've seen it, like the passion that I have for cheerleading has been instilled in, the next generation of it. I'm watching kids like come up from, kids that just had tucks to now they're doing especially through the fulls and they're pushing to do their doubles. And it's not even like necessarily the coaching, but just like the love they have for it, getting to instill that into them has been, just super, super awesome. And like, it's honestly, it's like magical, like just watching the drive come from some of these people who are just like, oh, I just kind of like do it to do it. And now they're doing it because like, they just love it so much and they can't stay away from it, which I had a very similar experience with. So,
over the years, we've had a lot of discussions about cheer and what it takes to get to the next level. And I think there's a lot of misnomer or confusion about what it takes to be able to go into college and cheer. And you have been fortunate enough to cheer at two of the best programs in the country. What do you think it really takes for athletes to get to that level, to go on and cheer in college at all, and then especially if they want to cheer at like the most competitive schools?
I mean, the two biggest things that I almost pride myself on it is that I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I'm not afraid to reach out to somebody and be like, hey, like, this is what I have to offer. This is what I think I'm capable of doing. Like, how do I get there? And oftentimes people are like, well, this is how you do it. And they're more than willing to help you get there. So like going to the Valley, I wasn't the best stunner, you know, but I say it all the time. I'm a really good trier. Like I try really hard. Everything that I do, I give everything that I have to do it. And so when I got there, like I wasn't the best. I actually came from, like I said, ODT, where I was one of the best boys, like just around co-ed studying. And I got down there and there was 25 of me, you know, and they could flip. And so I was like, wow, this is kind of a tough environment to be in. And so once I wasn't afraid to put myself out there and ask people to stunt, it was the work ethic, you know, not being afraid to get in the gym, not being afraid to grind, sacrificing, like, you know, oh, like my friends are all going to do this. I'm like, I have to go to the gym. Like I have to be in the gym today. And then just like day in and day out, being consistent with it and just honestly relentless. Like there was no option for me. Like I had to be the best. I had to be one of the greats. Like it was just, that's what I had to do. And so like, you know, I would compete with my friends. I would watch them throw something. I'm like, I can throw that. And so I would work to it. Obviously, like, progressions, you know, but like I would get there. And it didn't matter if it took me a week. It didn't matter if it took me a day. It could take me a year. I was getting there. It just, you know, time permitting, it all kind of, it comes when it's supposed to, you know? So like those are like, you know, just not being afraid to put yourself out there, the work ethic. And honestly, like what helped me is just some friendly competition. Like I love to compete. I love, you know, like battling with my best friends, like watching them like throw a skill. I'm like, cool, I'm throwing it to one hand. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to spin it. Well, okay, then I have to spin it to one hand. Well, I'm spinning it to one hand and 1 foot, you know? And it's just like a constant, like we're one-upping each other. And it's not like, hi, I told you I was better. It was more of like okay, I did this, what's next? And then like now they're stepping up. And the next thing you know, you have 2 people pushing to be great. And then next thing you know, you have 2 people who are great.
Mm-hmm. So we've had this debate over the years that anybody can be great at cheerleading.
Yeah, I think anybody can be great at honestly anything.
Okay. So what I found to be the differentiating factor though is that work ethic. And if you don't have that, if you aren't willing, like we've coached for long enough where we are like, that kid's probably never going to go higher than a level 2. That they are a lifer level 2, or maybe they'll go to a 4.2, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's athletic, just things don't make sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is athletically inclined. But I've even seen some of those kids who were on that 4.2 team go on to be in some sort of a collegiate program because they had the work ethic. Mm-hmm. And I think would you say there is some confusion on what it actually, like what skills are required to get into collegiate cheer?
100%. It's honestly, sometimes it's kind of tough to like see and hear because some people are so misinformed of like what it actually takes to get there. And they're like, well, if you don't have a standing full and you don't have a running full and you can't do this stunt, you're not going to make it. And it's just not true, unfortunately. Well, I guess fortunately, it's not true. Oftentimes, like if they see potential, if like, you know, they see work ethic and they see that like there's a drive to get where you need to go, oftentimes people will take a chance on you. You know, it doesn't necessarily, again, like that's kind of what I was talking about, like being willing to put yourself out there, you know, being willing to try instead of going places and people are scared and they're timid and they don't talk to anybody and they don't like, they're just in their shells. You know, you have to be willing to open up and like let people see like what you really are, because oftentimes there's just such a deep drive in some of these people and they're just too scared to show it. They're too scared to fail. But like failing is inevitable, and anything that you do, it's just inevitable. It's gonna happen. And it's like, you know, the quote, like, it doesn't matter if you get knocked down, it's how many times you can get back up after you get knocked down. And it's true. You know, you fail 100 times until you hit it, and then you hit it one time and there's your light. That's what you needed. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's possible, it's doable, you can do it. And then you have to fail another 200 times to do it one more time. And then you know, next time you only fail 100 times. Next time you only fail 50 times. Next time you're only 20. And then next thing you know, you have the skill. It's hitting every single time, you know? So it's just like I said, getting out there, showing the world who you are, what you're made of, what you're capable of. Like I said, potential is, I think, very easily seen, especially in higher levels. Yeah. Like you can tell, like, you know, I'm like, this kid will do anything and everything to make sure that he is where he needs to be. And then there's some people who show up and they just don't care, mm-hmm. you know, and you're like, well, could be great, but they just don't care to be, you know?
Yep. I think another big piece with getting into college cheer is also understanding how to plot your path, mm-hmm. like how to make that progression. Because I talk to kids all the time where they're like, Weber, right? I want to go cheer for Weber. Okay, cool. You're not ready.
Yeah.
Right. And so what is like, you have to figure out how to plot that path. Okay, where is the JUCO or the other college you're going to go to that you're going to get reps and training that maybe isn't as good as a Weber and or a Louisville or one of those programs that then you're going to then go there in 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a UK or something like that, like a Moorhead. It may take you time to get a University of West Georgia. Like you might not make it your freshman year. So understanding how to plot that path and know that there are really viable schools to go to and get reps, which a lot of people look at Trinity Valley and Navarro as being really good, but there's also other great community colleges out there.
Dodge,
Jones,
Sheldon, like,
Flint,
yeah.
Like, there's so many different schools out there that you can go to that are desperate for motivated kids who want to cheer, and they will invest in teaching you. Where I think with Weber, you guys do get better at the school, but like, yeah, the kid, you come in with skills.
Oftentimes, yeah, we come in with a majority of the skills.
Yes, like that's a school we're saying, yeah, but even then, I've heard people say, well, if you don't have a standing full, you don't make Weber. Yet some of my best friends were on mat at Weber and they didn't throw a standing full.
I promise you I'm not throwing no one standing full.
So it just, everyone has a role to fill, right? Not everyone's a quarterback. Not everyone's an offensive lineman. Everyone, there's tippy tops, there's mids, and now with so many of these schools having small co-ed and even debuting all girl programs, like there are so many options to cheer at some of these amazing programs.
There's a lot of opportunities opening up, which is honestly really cool to see. Just like, people getting to go to these junior colleges now that only offered this. And like Weber at one point only offered large co-ed, So it made like Tumblr girls or girls who were basing, they were like, well, there's no point in me even ever trying to go to Weber because I'm not a top girl, But there's a way larger margin for opportunity there, which is super cool to see, honestly.
So having cheered at some of the arguably best programs of the last decade, what do you think it is that makes them different? And now Trinity Valley has gone back and forth with Navarro, so they haven't won every year. But Weber has 8?
Yeah, times? I think they're on 8 or 9 or something like that in a row.
So what is it that makes a program like Weber as strong as it is and as capable of winning year after year after year? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Honestly, like one of the biggest driving forces at Weber State is Summer Willis. Like she's just a phenomenal coach. Like she is so invested in her lives, and like when I talk about people who can see potential, she can see potential, but not just in cheerleading. Like it's just people as people, I tell this story all the time to people. Taylor Demler, literally, he's super famous, blah blah blah. A lot of people know him. You guys have probably seen him on Instagram. He's great. If you would have put him and I in a room together, we would have strangled each other. Like when I first got to Weber, there was just absolutely no way Taylor and I could have sat in a room together. And I sat and I talked to Summer like time and time and time again about him, like him specifically. I was like, I cannot be on a team with this man. Like I want to murder him with my bare hands. And she would just look me in the face every single day and she would tell me, give him a chance. And I would tell her no. Like straight up, I'm like, no, I'm not giving this man a chance. I've met him plenty of times. I've seen like the person he is. Absolutely not. And then, there was just COVID happened and Taylor drove to my house in Winnebago and he looked at me and he looked at Brandon and Anu and was like, let's go to Moab. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, me in a Winnebago with you? That sounds literally like my worst nightmare. And I don't know what it was. They left. And I don't know what it was. But like a few hours later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give this man a chance. And we drove to Moab. And honestly, Taylor is one of my best friends now. And Summer looks at me every time we talk about it. She's like, I told you so. And she's just like that with literally everybody. Like, she's just so good about bringing the team together. And then, like, that's the friendly competition thing. Is like, we're all such good friends. He can't beat me. I'll never let that man beat me a day in my life, And it's not because I hate him, but it's just because, like, I love him so much that I'm like, you just can't be better than me, And so it's just, that's the back and forth. Like, that's the friendly competition. he sees me going to the gym and there's a day that he's not going to go, but he sees me going and he's like, oh no, you're not outworking me, And then, next thing you know, it's just like that. But summer's like that with all, 70 athletes, and all 70 athletes have people like that. And then next thing you know, we're at practice and life's great. And then practice ends and then half of us are going to the gym. The other half aren't. The other half sees the half going and they're like, oh, we're all going. And then next thing you know, we got 50 people at an open gym after we just practiced for 3 hours. And now we're at open gym for 3 hours. And then it's just, like I said, it trickles from her down to us. And it just builds this, I don't even know. It's just it's a force. It is impressive. When we walk into somewhere, how tight knit and close we are, but we are not getting beat by the person next to us, And then next thing you know, we go to competitions and we look at other people and we're like, oh, well, we got this. I'm like, dude, I got 10 of me, even though I might be the best of the 10, but we got 10 more, And it's just, I don't know, just the work ethic there is just I'm telling you, it's unmatched. Leo would run around every day and be like, you're scared of the work. Everyone's like, I'm not scared of the work. And Leo's like, well, I've been in the gym for 5 hours a day. I'm like, well, guess what I'm doing for the rest of my day? I got to go to the gym. And it's just, like I said, it's just like that every single day, and it's day in and day out. And then next thing you know, you have a whole year of it. And then, then it's 2 years of it because the same people on the team. Then we're 3 years deep, 4 years deep. Now they're 8 years deep of just work, grind, practice. That's just what they do, and now it's just, I'm not going to say it's untouchable, but it's very hard to touch,
So now, having come out of the college world and coached in the all-star world, how do you take that kind of a culture and build it within an all-star program, knowing the constraints that you have of kids that have to go to high school and they maybe don't even get to drive their own cars and they might not have access to weight rooms and all of those other things? How does one start to bite that apple, building that culture in their own gym or on their own team?
Honestly, I think that I was very blessed. I think everything happens for a reason, but Max and Addie were a big advocate for me when we got there. They were two individuals. They were seniors in high school, and they were like, well, we want to stunt. So I'm like, let's stunt. So I spend hours and hours and hours in the gym with them. We finish practice at 9:30. We're out of the gym at midnight, out of the gym at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we're just stunting. And Max is working and Addie's working. And then once I had those two on board, oh, well, now Kylie's going to stay because Addie's staying, and then now Micah's staying because Max is staying. Now Gabe's staying because Micah and Max are staying. And the next thing you know, you have an entire team that wants to be there. And I preach it every practice. I mean, you hear it all the time, get in the gym, just get to the gym. That is the hardest part, is getting to the gym. But I always tell them, when you come in, shoot a text in the group message. Hey, I'm going into the gym. Does anybody have anything they want to work on? And we make a joke about it, but I'm telling you, there's just nothing like dying next to somebody that you love, when you're sitting there, you're eating it over and over and over on tumbling skills, or you're just throwing skills and it's falling over and over and over again. You're getting frustrated, but then you look to your left and your right and you have 2 or 3 people doing the exact same thing, and you're just like, hey, we got this, we can do this. And the next thing you know, one of them's hitting it, and then one of them sees it and they're frustrated. The other one's frustrated, well, now I have to do it. And then you have 2 people hitting it. Next thing you know, you have 3 people hitting it. And then they get to practice and there's people that haven't been in the gym. They're like, oh my God, why are all of them doing it? I can't do it. Now they're in the gym, and it just, like I said, it's a big trickle down effect, and it does come at a cost. And as of right now, the cost is my time, it's just me getting in the gym with the kids, telling the kids, I will be there. If you want to go to the gym, I will be there. I will open it. I will coach you. If you don't even want me to coach you, you just want me to hang out, I'll just sit in the gym. Or if I'm I got work to do, I'm I'll open the gym. I'll let you do your thing, but I have stuff that I got to do, So, like I said, it's just been, once you can get one on board, you can get them all on board. It's just it's infectious. That fly was in my ear. I'm sorry.
For all of you listening, we have a fly buzzing around our head. So I will say, one of the challenges with that is, and it's been interesting since you came back, because that is something that kind of changed. And I think it's finding the balance, and not finding the balance and getting them to work more. Because I think that everything you're talking about has happened and has made a huge difference for that team in particular. But it's the balance of when you start like being very business focused, right? It's like if you're not paying, if you're not here for like a class, like if you want to tumble extra, you need to sign up for a class. If you want to stunt extra, you should sign up for a class. And finding that balance between, if you're on a team, you can come to the gym whenever you want. And that, but we went almost so far from what it was like when you were on the team. Because when you were on the team, that was the culture that we had. I mean, I can remember you and Nick and James and Boosh sending me videos when you guys were in the gym at like 1 a.m. still stunting. And
dancing the lights.
You guys are like, well, we're working really hard. And half the time the videos you were sending was you guys doing like back extension rolls with no hands and then falling on your bellies and like, silly, dumb things. But you guys were you lived in the gym. Like that's Ahmed lived in the gym. That's how he got all of his tumbling. And so all these kids that I look at, like the greats that have come through our program, it's because they just lived in the gym. And very few of those kids were kids that were taking a ton of extra classes and private lessons. And so it's like, it's finding that balance. And I, to be honest, for everyone listening, I don't know that I truly know the answer of like where that balance is. For us, it's kind of a privilege of being on our elite level teams. Like once you're at the levels, for us, like level 4 and level 6, like you start to get a little bit more ability to come in extra and do that work. But even then, I think it's within reason, right? Like most of the time the kids are staying and working, it's after the gym would normally be closed, or they're coming in 30 minutes before their practice to get a few extra reps. And they're not necessarily pulling a coach aside, except for in your circumstance where they were like trying to prep for college. But that's always been something we pride ourselves on as a program of like, hey, at that point in time, like we're going to be invested in you.
Absolutely.
And help you get to that next level.
Well, I mean, that's also like you're saying, it's like, I mean, imagine if I charged Max and Addie every single hour I sat in the gym with him, which, like you said, it's just a privilege that I guess that they get because they're on a team that I coach. I mean, I guess there's more of, time is money. So like, that's what it comes to, So I guess I don't know. I guess the balance is kind of a tough question, like where it is,
It is a tough question. I truly don't have the answer. I think the balance has been for us when you're on our world's team, and there are kids that we've invested in helping get to college, even when they weren't, like they were on level 3, but they wanted to prepare. We've definitely helped them out. I mean, it's definitely being at the right program does help because not every program prioritizes the next step to college. And not everyone has the ability or the time to invest in doing that. And that's totally fair. Yeah, I think it's been a huge culture shift for us in a really, really positive way, especially with our world's team. So you've coached All-Star for 1 year. Last year you coached level 4 and level 6. And you got to end the year a Summit champion. Summit champion. What was that journey like for you?
It was tough. Like I said, going from being an athlete to a coach is a very different, mindset. Luckily, like I had you and I had Josh. I had people who've been doing it. So I was being mentored very well. There was a point where it was almost natural because instead of them being my teammates, they were just my athletes. You know what I mean? And it's still the same, like, I try to still instill the same work ethic and drive and passion to them that I would my teammates, and then it just, so happens I've been my athletes and I just have a little bit more knowledge in the stunting area than they do. So I can just like, hey, like, if you fix this, like this should work for you, And I'm like, and honestly, the thing is, this is going to take 10 reps. It's going to take 100 reps. It's going to take some time. Like we're just giving them building blocks. But again, Rome wasn't built in a day. It was laid brick by brick. And the thing is, the first brick is just understanding. And then once you have an understanding, and then the understanding portion to the application portion, there's a bridge. It takes time. And so like, getting to coach them was like, I don't know, it was super awesome. And like, just from the get-go though, they had the drive to win, and it was also super awesome because, you've been a big part of my life for a long time. And like, we've always just wanted great things for the gym. And it was like one of the first like really big wins in the gym. And it was really cool. It was a very full circle moment for me to go from like being an athlete and like watching us like struggle and fight to get wherever we needed to go to watching it like being rewarded, like there was a huge success, a huge triumph. And it was just like, you deserved it. you know, like just the amount of hours that I've seen put in from you from then till now. And then like, again, like the amount of hours we were putting in to the team. Yeah. But it was also not even like, again, it wasn't even just them. It was like you putting hours into them and then putting hours into me and teaching me how to coach and teaching me how to, you know, read the score sheet, fight a score, like, you know, like things like that.
Bad at 100%. Every time you challenge something, you won.
I actually never had to challenge anything. We would write it down. We'd walk over there. They would hand it back. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get those tents.
So it was very, I don't know, like I said, it was a very full circle thing for me. And like, it was also just cool to see, like, to experience the other side of it. Like I've always experienced winning as the athlete. Well, I won't say always, but there's been a few times that I've gotten to experience winning as an athlete. And it's just honestly the feeling of watching like the team win and like being on the team are very, very different. It's almost like you want it so bad for them that like there's nothing you can do though. You're not on the floor. You're not throwing the skills. It's just like, oh, like I just want you guys to do so well, so bad. And then watching them get to do it and experience and like feel the feeling that I felt, you know, it was very, I don't even know what word I'm looking for, but it just like, it made my heart so full and like getting to watch you win. Like it was just, it was great. It was crazy. It was amazing.
It was crazy.
About backflip Dan off the stage on accident.
He did. You guys watched the video. He tried to yeet me over his shoulders.
I was excited. I picked Dan up. Dan's a little smaller than I remember. So
you also had a lot of adrenaline.
I was hype. I was so hype.
Well, awesome. Any parting pieces of advice for the listeners, whether they're a coach, an athlete, a parent, whether it be related to All-Star or college? Just what would be like if you had one piece of advice to give people in the cheer world, what would that be?
I mean, honestly, the one that I love to speak on and just talk about the most is the college thing, you know, try to understand what you're looking for, you know, like small co-ed teams, there's just different styles of stunting than a large co-ed and all girl. They're just different things. So like, I just think that genuinely it's something that most people want to go to college. And if they want to, like cheering is a great way to get in the community of the college, you know, like, you know, get out there. And then like, it also opens so many doors. I got to travel to so many places and meet so many people and do so many cool things. Just because again, like I wasn't afraid to put myself out there, but like understanding what you're looking for. So if you want to compete game day, or if you want to just do sideline, or if you want to compete, there's just so many options. It's just never like if you don't have this, you're never going to do it. You know, like there's just, again, like you said, you have to make the path, you know? And so like, I just always encourage everyone to try to find the path. And if they have questions, to reach out, you know, just because there's just so many, like, I don't think people realize how many connections they have and how small the cheer world like actually is.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like somebody that you've been cheering with, you never know, could know the head coach of, you know, some random program that, you know, could kickstart your whole college career, you know, and just open so many doors.
Yeah. My general progression, I tell people, is one, ideally know what you want to study in school. Even though that could change, know kind of what you want to go to school for, because you want to make sure you're not picking a college that doesn't offer that thing.
Yep, fair enough.
And then from there, narrow down. What is it you're wanting to do? Is it large co-ed, small co-ed, all girl, stunt, acro? Is it UCA style or NCA style?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many different facets that you can dive into with collegiate cheer. And you may say, I have no preference, right? That may be your answer. I just want to cheer in college. Or do you want highly competitive, or do you want a really big game day school, right? I cheered at University of Oregon. Now we competed back in my day, but now if you go to University of Oregon, it's just a game day school. Can you have a great experience?
Well, they have a massive game day. It looks so fun.
Cheering at Autzen Stadium is pretty freaking amazing in front of 65,000 people, and going to those potentially, you know, national championship bowl games and things like that. You got to have some pretty cool experiences, but you need to know is that what's really important to you, because Weber doesn't really have a big game day experience.
Yep. It's about the same size as my high school.
So it's not the same thing. So you need to know now. But can you get competitive and game day? Yeah, you could go to a Texas Tech. You can find those mixes. You gotta do the research and you got to do the work. And if you're going in and just completely blind and saying, I don't know, well, that actually makes it harder. because you're just trying to pick from a really broad menu. So if you can clarify things, it definitely will help you get into schools, because then you can tailor your skills to those schools. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll probably have Jalani on again. He's fairly entertaining.
That'd be fun. I liked it.
With that, we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye, everybody.